Good morning. I'm Quentin Hart, Mayor of Waterloo, Iowa, and I would like to thank you for joining us on this virtual State of the City. The annual State of the City is our opportunity to tell you what's happening in Waterloo by highlighting our yearly achievements, analyzing our progress, and telling what the future holds for our beloved city. And we thought long and hard this year on whether or not to even do a State of the City. And I don't have to tell any of you that our community has seen so many negative impacts from our world pandemic, COVID. In addition to that, we've seen civil unrest in Minneapolis and around this country with George Floyd. And we've had hurricane-like winds that have ripped through our entire state. And all of these situations and many others have had a tremendous impact on us today. But I believe we owe it to ourselves and those that have sacrificed so much every day to tell our story in this chapter of our history. And I believe that this city has so much to be proud of, and I will never hesitate to talk about the greatness of our community. And this past year, we were fortunate. We've had mayors throughout the country from Los Angeles to Chicago to Michigan to New Hampshire visit our wonderful city. And I've also had the pleasure of meeting with the vice mayor from Thessalonica, Greece, or mayors from large and small communities across the state and country. And the most interesting part of all of these meetings is how people are starting to see the incredible change that's happening here. And I know, here it goes, here it comes, that voice that some of us may have that impact our thinking to say, yeah, okay, right. Waterloo, Iowa is a happening place. Well, I'm telling you that great things are happening here. Even in a COVID year, when we saw our businesses pressed and challenged, we've had our community move forward. And even in this time, we've still eclipsed our second highest year on record with our economic performance indicators, which are based off our permitted values. And so the conversation is shifting to why not Waterloo? And I've been blessed, as I said, to talk to mayors, share best practices, see what they're doing. But this is what I wanted to ask all of you. What would we call a city that is developing an infrastructure with cutting-edge smart city technology to improve residents' lives and deliver services more efficiently and cost-effective? What would we call a city that is evolving through innovation, in a city where the tech industry is leading the change in manufacturing, logistics, and commerce on a national scale? Or what would we call a city where diversity is more than just a trendy buzzword, but inclusion is becoming a way of life? You would call that city a leader and say that that city leads. And that's why we've named today State of the City, Waterloo Leads. Now, this doesn't mean that we don't have challenges. This means that we are meeting them head on and not allowing limitations to be placed on our potential. And our city, our home of Waterloo, is delivering in so many incredible areas. And that's why I've asked my friend and former colleague, Kathy Flynn, to help me tell the story today. Kathy, many people know you from your work as Vice President of Enrollment Services at Hawkeye Community College, but not everyone may remember your background in journalism and being the news director for the radio group and an assignment editor at KWWL, plus board chair of the McElroy Trust since December of 19, and retired resident of Waterloo, which is just a short version to your overall resume. But I want to thank you for being here today.
Mayor Hart, first off, thank you for inviting me. This was an exciting project to be involved in. And above all, I want to thank you for your leadership as well as the City Council. You folks represent us well. I've seen that over and over in my travels and work in the last few decades. Waterloo has been my home all of my life, born and raised here. My parents came here over 60 years ago, and I do feel truly blessed because of the opportunities that have been presented to me both personally and professionally. We have outstanding city services. We have a hardworking staff. These folks are truly public servants. And I had the pleasure of sitting down with a number of department heads recently. Couldn't meet with all of them, but I did have an opportunity to sit down and talk to them at length. And it's very obvious we have quality services. That's what I had always looked for as I made my next career moves and where I decided to have a family and retire. We have excellent services, emergency medical, police, fire. I can't name them all, but I think everyone will get a taste for all of the good things happening in Waterloo in the next hour. I'd like to say one thing. I believe that we are so fortunate as a community, as a city. This is a community that's rich in diversity, culture, recreation, sports, and of course, career opportunities. And I want to thank you for your support over the years. We have a lot of information to pass along, lots of news, as they say, so we're going to get to it in the next hour. First off, I'd like to introduce Noel Anderson. Many people know Noel. He is the director of Waterloo's Planning and Development for an update.
Noel, this was a big year for announcements, a really big year. It seems every time I was checking my news feed, I was looking at a multi-million-dollar announcement from you and the mayor of Waterloo. Some really exciting things. Tell us about it.
We've had a great year. Of course, they kind of track everything by new permit valuation, which is all the new residential, commercial, industrial permits taken out. We had 161 million, which is our goal was 100 million for the year. 180 million is our highest of the year of the casino. So it's been a great year. And really since 2016, Mayor Hart had us reorganize economic development. We've averaged about 128 million since that time. So we're really seeing some good development out there.
And some major projects. Do you want to highlight a couple of those?
Sure. We have of course, the Lost Island theme park is moving dirt out there. That's a $100 million investment. That'll really bring all kinds of new attention to Waterloo, new visitors, new tourism, and hopefully more new investment in that area. We have the LSB financial technology going in the TechWorks facility. So that's really a new age technology type firm that we're seeing out there. And of course the convention center in Best Western downtown, probably about 20 million between the two of them in terms of new investment, redevelopment.
It sounds like you're seeing both local business expansion as well as outside new investment. So to me, that's the sign of a really healthy local economy. Are you seeing similar growth in our industrial areas as well?
We really are. We're seeing great investment in all portions of the city. We have 5 industrial parks and we have 2 retail centers that we've kind of focused on with our tax increment finance districts. In the Northeast Industrial Park, we have the ability for heavy sewer, heavy water, and rail. We have the control building going out there, the largest building since 2004 to be built out there. Up at the airport, we're extending water and sewer to open up 300 new acres along the Highway 218 Lone Tree Road interchange. So we're really starting to see some great investment in those areas. It's really about bringing new jobs here, new tax base here, new opportunities for businesses here. And of course that helps fuel those larger projects out there that are bringing more employees, that help bring the retail, that'll help bring the small business development and restaurants. You bring the new larger development to bring the smaller development to bring the people.
That's really exciting. So what does all this business growth mean for the city as well as its residents?
Downtown development, we're seeing over 35 new businesses that have opened up there in the last 5 years, and a lot of that is brought upon by the new housing happening down there. Up at North Crossing, formerly Logan Plaza, we've partnered with Ben Stroh, a local developer, and he's also turned his attention to redeveloping the former Kmart Plaza on San Marnan and the former Logan Plaza. Logan Plaza, now called North Crossing, of course, we've seen a new Quick Star out there. We're seeing a new Burger King under construction. He's partnered with Unity Point Hospital to really bring a lot more medical options up there as well. And of course, all of that is at the north end of the Highway 63 area, which we've seen new business development, new medical along there as well as the Tech Works and the Sportsplex at that southern end. So we're seeing great reinvestment in a lot of our corridors.
And one project I'm especially proud of is the city's partnership with Hawkeye Community College. The goal is to improve housing opportunities and at the same time teach the students about construction and building.
And you know, one of the things the city of Waterloo has really worked on is to gain more housing in Waterloo, and we're also out there to eliminate blight in Waterloo, and we've acquired a lot of lots. So that led to the partnership with Hawkeye to try and fill some of these infill lots and try to also work with Hawkeye's programs to keep students out there. Again, workforce is a primary thing to bring new businesses here, so really with Hawkeye Community College, the Waterloo Career Center, they're doing that to prepare the students. Our particular partnership with Hawkeye is to build new houses on some of our infill lots. We started up on Newell. We've actually sold the first house for a profit. We're close to selling the second house for a profit. But again, the benefits to all that is you're creating a new workforce for the students, you're creating infill development and new investment in older neighborhoods for the city.
We appreciate your efforts and thank you for being here today.
Well, and thank you for having me, and obviously a thanks to the mayor and council for being proactive in our economic development efforts that have led to a lot of these projects.
Impressive update. Mayor Hart, any comment?
You know, I just want to say it helps having a supportive council to move these projects forward, and the confidence from the entrepreneur community is extremely important as well. Noel was a little modest. If you talk to Jessica Rucker, Main Street Director, she may even push that number from 35 downtown new businesses probably to over 45 or so within the last 18 to 24 months. And then last but not least, Kathy, as you know, growth in our community is great when it happens, but we can never forget about the neighborhoods that need some support and growth as well, because whether you're a child walking from school or you are a person that has lived in that neighborhood all of your life, we must see growth in every sector of the community. So I'm glad to see the diversity of all the projects that are happening across our entire city.
That's right. And Noel's update was very impressive. As you said, I saw so many signs of a very strong, diverse community and a growing tax base, which is good news to all of us. Next, Paul Hudding joins us to talk about leisure services and how culture, art, recreation, and sports all play a very important role in our community.
Hey, Paul, thanks for being here.
Good morning, Kathy. Thanks for inviting me.
Leisure Services Director. It really sounds like a fun job.
Certainly. It's all fun and games.
Tell us about it.
Well, it's basically Parks and Recreation by another name. So what we do is provide the fun things, the amenities. Beyond that, we're also about resources. So we do work a lot in the area of natural resources with forestry and preserves and things like that.
Waterloo is very fortunate. We have an abundance of parks, green spaces, and trails. And of course, everybody wants more, but we have delivered as a city. So let me ask you to kind of highlight some of those major projects.
Well, one of the most exciting ones is our brand new skate park that's under construction now. It should be completed soon, but it's a really nice facility. It's durable. It's out of the floodway. Our old skate park was completely ruined by the Cedar River twice. So it's a really exciting new facility. We just totally renovated Lincoln Park in downtown Waterloo. It's a very formal park, but it's beautiful and a great place to gather and a very busy place too.
It is a dramatic change from just a few years ago. The one project that I was involved in, very proud of, is the Hawkeye Center New Adult Learning Center, formerly known as the Van G. Miller Adult Learning Center of Hawkeye. That was an exciting project and a wonderful partnership between the city and Hawkeye. Looking at the projects you've been involved in, what are you most proud of, Paul?
The Sportsplex has really been a focus, but along with that, there are things happening all around it. And one of the exciting things is a new streetscape project that's in the entire area. It's connecting the existing facilities in the Sportsplex, Young Arena, for example, the Dan Gable Wrestling Museum, the John Deere Tractor Museum, and the entire area is being brought together as a unified landscaping and amenities throughout the area. So we're excited about that.
Yeah.
Extremely proud of our employees and how they reacted to this crisis, the COVID-19 crisis that no one could have predicted. No playbook at all for it, and we had facilities that closed with very little warning. The Center for the Arts and the Public Library had similar challenges, but we met those challenges by providing online and virtual classes and training, and then eventually, in our case, slowly and carefully reopening facilities and parks.
I remember last December, the Cedar Valley Sportsplex was transformed into a huge TV studio. We had national media, we had a slew of presidential candidates, we had mayors here and leaders from all over the country. What a great honor.
It was really impressive to see what our staff could do in cooperation with people from across the country to really put on a professional show, and it really was, and I enjoyed that immensely, and I think it played well across the country.
All right, these efforts by the city, we know this has created a very vibrant community. We want to thank Paul Hudding and his staff for all of their hard work and making it happen. What we've seen is, efforts to improve our quality of life, and that's what people look for in a very vibrant community. Mayor?
And when you take a look at the area near the Sportsplex, you take a look at our library, which is doing incredible work. You take a look at our Center for Arts, which has one of the largest Haitian art collections in the entire world. There's so many great things happening for us to take advantage of. Young Arena, the baseball Waterloo Bucks, but the list goes on and on. And deck hockey, who would have thought? But so many incredible things taking place in addition to the trails and recreation that Paul mentioned. So we're just proud and as we can possibly be.
Looking forward to Irish Fest in the newly remodeled and renovated Lincoln Park next year. Everybody's talking about that already. It'll be exciting.
Shout out to the philanthropy community, which made that possible.
That's right. Thank you. So water, sewer services, plowing our streets, all of those things are critical in a community to keep the city running efficiently, effectively. And I had a really nice chance to sit down and talk to Randy Bennett, who oversees that division. And he's going to tell us a little bit about the work that he's been doing in just about 2 years that he's been with the city staff.
Good morning, Randy. Thanks for being here. Not the new kid on the block, exactly. Been with the city of Waterloo for just under 2 years. Let's start with maybe an overview of your areas of responsibility.
Yes, well, thanks for having me. So it's pretty exciting. I get to oversee 6 different departments that provide service to the city of Waterloo. It starts with the street department, sanitation, animal control, traffic operations, waste management, and fleet maintenance.
So obviously you have a lot going on. Tell us about your priorities for the public works departments. What are you hoping to accomplish?
So the biggest thing would be, prioritizing it, pretty much by each individual area, looking at as far as what our strengths and weaknesses are and how we can try to advance on that. Our overall goal is, we don't want any fatalities, which, Waterloo has some of the safest streets in the state just because of some of the technology. Traffic adaptive system, Waterloo was one of the first in the state to actually implement that. So that's pretty exciting. But it's just not in that department alone. We also have a SCADA system that we've just implemented this last year at the wastewater plant, where we're able to utilize computers and technology in each one of our buildings, so we can see if pumps and blowers and different things are running, and then if there happens to be an alarm through the Internet of Things, they can actually access through their phone and or tablet. Not to mention, which incorporates all of our departments, which is GIS and GPS. We have a lot of infrastructure, whether it's sanitary sewer, storm sewer, water, traffic signals, signs, all of this infrastructure that we have. We want to know where it's at, how long has it been there, what size it is. So, all this technology that we utilize to make it more efficient at what we do.
You're talking about data, you're talking about technology, science for critical decisions. How do you stay on top of all that?
A lot of it that we're very fortunate here in the city of Waterloo is we have a lot of talented staff. We have a lot of staff who is always striving to look at how we can become more efficient and better at what we're doing.
So as you're out and about in the city of Waterloo, what stands out? What are you seeing?
There's a lot of new things. I would definitely say the Waterloo Regional Airport is definitely something that we really should talk about. That's a huge asset, not only for Waterloo, but the Cedar Valley in general. It's not just a commercial industry as far as flights. It also is home, for hangars that not only can you get fuel and maintenance done for whatever aviation aircraft, whether it be personal planes, sport planes, or helicopters. They have a new ambulatory service that they just acquired this year, which is great for the Cedar Valley. The airport, they're always looking at, advancing. There's always improvements that are taking place.
It is critical to our economy that we not only maintain, but we support our airport. And if I can just add in, I prefer to fly out of Waterloo because basically it's close to home, I'm saving time, and that means saving money. And it's nice just to be able to jump in the car when you get that suitcase and drive home. Another tremendous asset that we have in Waterloo is our water. Tell us about that.
Waterloo Water Works it's integral. Everybody needs water. They're always making improvements into the infrastructure, whether it's coordination through the yearly street improvements that we do. This last year alone, they put in just a little over 14,000 feet of new water line. And not only was it just the new water lines, but they also put in new hydrants, which helps with fire protection. But they're always making improvements as far as doing their flushing and their yearly maintenance that they're doing, replacing both hydrants and valves, to that way they got the most up-to-date service that they can. I know they also have made some improvements through their radio communications that they've been installed into their water tower, so that way it can integrate on the technology side with all the meters to eventually get to the point where residents would be able to see their usage live and see what their consumption is anytime that they want to do that. So it's not just the infrastructure for what you can't see under the ground that they're making improvements, but they're also doing it on the technology side as well too.
If there's anything we've learned over the last year, we shouldn't take anything for granted. I want to personally thank you for being here. I want to thank your team. You have essential employees. We consider them to be the unsung heroes of our community. They're out many times doing jobs that others wouldn't want to do. Mike Rowe would say they're dirty jobs, but they're critical, they're important, and it goes back to the great quality of life we have here because of employees like yours and the rest of our city staff. So thank you.
We have a lot of dedicated employees, and they really enjoy what they do, and we're very fortunate. So thank you.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks once again to Randy Bennett and all of the city staff who took time to meet with me. Incredible amount of initiatives, achievements to share. There's not time. I do see so many good things happening in our community, and it's just more proof that Waterloo is leading in so many ways. I do have a quick reminder, Mayor, before I throw it off to you there. You can download the City of Waterloo year-end report from the city website, cityofwaterloo.org/Waterloo Leads. Today's event is being recorded and will be available on YouTube as well as accessible through the city website. And finally, the city wants to hear from you. They want your opinion. That's a good thing. You have an opportunity to tell the city where you want to see Waterloo go, how we're leading, what else can happen to make some positive progress, and who should be involved. Again, you'll see all that on the city website. And Mayor, once again, thank you for the opportunity to be here.
And Kathy, before we conclude, that was a really powerful presentation, that piece as well with Randy, because, prior to starting, I didn't understand how much of an impact that sewer and water and infrastructure and rail and air, how much of an impact that was to attracting and keeping businesses here and getting them here. Right. And so it's very phenomenal to hear about how we're moving ahead together as a community. And last but not least, Kathy, I want to thank you so much. You have been a shining light within our community. And ever since I've known you from working together at Hawkeye Community College, you have just been tremendous for our community. So I know everything else in your philanthropy world and giving back, I know you're going to be absolutely amazing. So thank you for visiting with our team members today.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And, those are just a few of the things that have been taking place from that. And as Kathy mentioned, please go to the website and download the year in review so you can see exactly what's been happening, because it's too much to fit in at one time. And as we transition right now for this part of the program, I am so proud to be able to work with an individual that has traveled so many miles to become part of the overall Waterloo team. And that is with Chief Dr. Joe Fitzgerald. And he and I probably can go back. I think he actually started working prior to him actually being sworn in. And we've heard a lot of conversation about the unfortunate incidents that we've seen around this country with George Floyd and other of our citizens. And there's been a lot of talk about what communities are doing and what they're not doing. So I'm so proud today that you and I could have a short conversation about the tremendous work that's taken place here over the last couple months. But before we get into that, Chief, tell us just a little bit about you and why Waterloo?
Well, you had to remind me just a little bit, because I can go on forever. I'll tell you this, is people are steered towards, especially professionals, toward being in the place where they're going to see the appropriate amount of challenge, but being in the right place at the right time. I think that's especially important here in Waterloo. We're fortunate to have a mayor who is very much interested in ensuring that we provide the services to the community that they expect. We provide the appropriate amount of diversity and inclusivity, and why not? We're also steered toward like-minded persons, and I like to think the mayor and myself think the same way on many, many of those issues. So after 29 years really in this business, I was working in cities of all scopes and sizes, from Philadelphia to Fort Worth, Texas, from Missouri City, Texas to Allentown, PA. This is perhaps an era where we can't get it wrong, where we have to really take a good look at the type of unrest that we've had and understand that it's for the sake of change, and that's positive change. And leaders need to be drawn to the challenge, and in taking that challenge, display the fortitude and the competence to actually immediately change the strategic direction of public safety organizations. So it's not typical. Nothing's normal about this year, the year of COVID, the year of unrest. But what is going to be steady is that city government and public safety are going to be the guardians and the accountable folks that we need to be to drive our city into the future as one of unity and, in the spirit of this presentation, a city that leads.
And Chief, June 1st, I remember standing in the park along with you. I don't know what time of the morning it was. And, we were having conversations with community members that were very concerned about all the things you just mentioned. And so from that time to now, over the course of about 2 months, or maybe a little bit more than 2 months, we've seen some incredible change here locally. Can you tell us about some of the changes that have taken place?
Well, let me start globally. As I said, chiefs around the country are leaving in droves. And it opens the door for new progressive thinkers to shepherd in sort of the common sense changes that in many cases should have been made over the last few decades. So although it's not the most popular job in the country here, it's by here I mean, policing in general and being a police chief. The challenge and the satisfaction related to the challenge is what's important. So I speak to everybody and speak for the folks in our city when I say I've met folks from those who are homeless to business owners in the city and economically disadvantaged or advantaged in between, that have all said the same thing in unison. We want good public safety, and we want to be involved in the manner in which public safety is delivered within our city. They love our police department. Let me reinforce that. They love it. And the great majority of people in this city who are the silent majority, I should say, absolutely have conveyed to me their support of our city government and our police department in particular, and the changes that we've undergone over the last few months. Again, Mayor, why not Waterloo? Why not us leading the way? And that's what we've seen. Your leadership during this tumultuous time, they've seen me step out and expose myself to citizens within the community without throngs of police officers around me, listening, actively listening, and participating in conversations that are difficult. And that's the expectation, I think, that they want from you, from me, and the public safety in general here in the city of Waterloo. So again, why not Waterloo? Let's lead and let's show other cities in Iowa and around this nation what a shining example of progress we are.
And so, Chief, so I know that there's such thing as the internal policies that you put in forth as a chief. But in addition to the internal policies, it was great to have a city council that would come alongside and work in unison to put ordinance based upon some of the policies that you believe, that people believe, that the entire country believes are incredible policies for moving us forward. Is it possible to name just a couple of those really quickly? And I know folks can go in and download and see all that information, but just a couple of them.
I think the important thing to mention, Mayor, too, is that we listen to the stakeholders in this community, young and old, and didn't hesitate to make the changes that they clamored for in unison. And with that, we've gone to neighborhood policing, more beat and beat-related concepts to be, quick about it, but more qualitative functions, measuring things like, how well we respond to community issues, how timely our response is, not in how timely we respond to a location, but how timely we get from start to finish and finishing, actually fixing problems that we're called out to, or fixing problems that we notice in the community. That leads to better policy. And some of those policies have been, with the help of the police chief's advisory and policy review committee, looking at our neighborhood policing concepts, crisis intervention training and policy, use of force changes with training and policy, and the duty to intervene, and many of the things that the 8 can't wait things and measurements ask for before they even ask for it. We were proactive and put those things into place. I'll go into procedural justice and implicit bias training, putting policies in place that are sustainable. Mayor, you mentioned having a council willing to put forth legislation that ensured that we had sustainability. So yes, we have gone so far as a police department and as a government to say, hey, no matter what police chief you have in here that have initiated these changes, that moving forward, we are going to ensure that every citizen is heard. And these are the minor expectations, or I should say the bottom line expectations that you can expect from this department and from this city. So I could go on about the other training and racial profiling and implicit bias things that we're doing, but Mayor, I think we need to talk a little bit about technology and things that we've done in that regard.
Well, I just want to, one, thank you so much for your vision. Thank you and the Waterloo Police Department, because you are all moving ahead of other places at light speed. And I know it's not a competition. It's about working with our community, but you've been doing an incredible job. And as we wrap up, we probably have about 15, 20 seconds left. But Chief, with regards to technology and the future of policing, there's a couple things that are happening. Can you mention those really quick?
I'll mention them in sort of in order to close this out. In-car cameras, in-car video. We have those things, but we are upgrading or looking to upgrade each one of our pieces of equipment that we give officers, to include when they unholster their firearm, when they use their taser, notifications that are given to us along the cross spectrum of police officers and supervisors to be able to know when force is used. And then, of course, to document and to explain why we're using it. So accountability being the focus. Again, training-based things done on the internet as opposed to doing them in class to save us not only money, but being able to facilitate it out. The other thing, and last but not least, we have a citizen-related portal where it's called Atlas One, where we're able to directly communicate with citizens dependent upon the area that the citizens put in. So if you want to hear something in just your neighborhood, you can get direct communications from us. But if you hear things or want to see things on a citywide basis, we will send you that information immediately as it happens and provide you updates. So Atlas One and click City of Waterloo, and you'll get those direct communications from this department.
All right. And you're talking about real-time policing right up in front. You'll be a part of it. You know what's taking place. You're bringing all those things. The Waterloo Police Department are bringing those things. So, Chief, I want to thank you and the Waterloo Police Department for all the incredible work that's being done to move forward. And we appreciate you taking our time. And anyone that has any other questions, you can go ahead and download the document we have about the yearly achievements. And you can also visit the Waterloo Police Department website. So thank you so much, Chief Fitzgerald.
You're welcome, Mayor, and thank you, citizens of Waterloo.
And as the chief had mentioned a little bit about technology and what's happening, real-time policing and all those things, then that actually sheds a focus on the person we have coming up next. And that's in regards to Waterloo Leads with Technology. And I'm proud to introduce Andy Van Fleet as a technology business owner. People don't always think of technology when they think of Waterloo, but Waterloo has a tremendous tech sector, and your company is a big part of it. So you bought and you renovated and you moved into downtown Waterloo. Why did you locate to downtown Waterloo, Andy? And tell us a little bit about your company.
Absolutely. Good morning, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for having us all speak today, in this incredible time in our city. Super proud to be involved in what we're going to talk about today. So thank you for having me speak about what's going to come to Waterloo as a critical infrastructure for us, all as citizens of Waterloo. But to your question about how Visual Logic came to be in Waterloo, I started this about 18 years ago and located it downtown Waterloo because there was the regional business center was downtown at that time. And so taking the leap from being at my home office to an office in downtown Waterloo was a significant leap as a small business owner. But there's a lot of history of our family being in downtown Waterloo as entrepreneurs. And in fact, in the late 1800s, my great-great-grandfather came from South Bend, Indiana to Waterloo and set up his boiler making company on the banks of the Cedar River, just south of where Rath Packing Company is. So I feel really blessed to be able to continue the tradition of having a business in downtown Waterloo and to raise a family here.
And Andy, when we think about the overall Waterloo tech sector, can you give us a little vision or view of the tech sector?
Yeah, there is a significant amount of technology businesses that do take place in downtown Waterloo and in Waterloo. Our business does a lot of different technology businesses, a lot of different technology services for businesses around the nation and around the world. Right here from Waterloo, we're really proud that we, as Visual Logic, do a lot of work in the military side of things. We also do a lot of fintech consulting, and then also do a lot of work that's in the agriculture related space as well. So the work that we do and a lot of our companies that we partner with in the Cedar Valley, not just servicing other businesses within Waterloo, but really far reaching nationwide and worldwide. But being able to do that right here from Waterloo is something that we're extremely proud of.
And then also, Andy, when you take a look at just the overall uses of technology, is it important to our lives? Is it not important? Can you tell us about that importance of technology nowadays?
Yeah, absolutely. So, getting to the point of why I'm involved in this session today is that I'm so excited to tell you that the Waterloo Telecom Board, which has been set up for a number of years and has really tried to move forward, but is very close on implementing 1 gigabit and up to 10 gigabit internet connectivity in Waterloo. So the way that this would work is it would be a telecom within Waterloo. It'd be owned by the city of Waterloo. And our goal is to bring a gigabit, like I said, up to 10 gigabit Ethernet fiber to every home and business within Waterloo and run it as a local telecom. So this would mean that you're going to get speeds of 10 to 100 times faster than what we're currently seeing. And we would try to keep the price less than what we're currently paying. But the beautiful thing of this entire thing would be that we would keep this local, and it would be owned by Waterloo, and that we would keep the money generated by the telecom right here in Waterloo.
You know, that's a tremendous step to move forward in such a manner, to take a look at our long range future, because as we know, it plays such a huge role in our lives. But if someone had a question or wanted to see more information about the telecom board or timeframes, how would they do that?
Yeah, absolutely. They could go there. I'm sure as we capture all the notes, we can put the email addresses in there, and we'll put the email address that we're using that goes to all of the telecom board members. It is, I think it's wtb@waterloo-iowa.org, but we'll put that in the notes so that people can go and look at it, and they can click on that so they don't have to remember that. But it is important to have a dialogue around what we're attempting to accomplish here within the city of Waterloo. A lot of people are in favor of this. Early on, we did a survey of the residents of Waterloo, and 77% of the residents of Waterloo wanted a reliable, less costly, faster internet service than their current providers are offering. So we know that there's a demand for this, and we know that the citizens of Waterloo deserve better than what we have been providing recently. So we want to hear from them on a continued basis. We're very excited about what we're talking about. We've seen other communities that have done this very successfully, including Cedar Falls with CFU. What we're talking about is very similar to what CFU has implemented. And so we'd love to continue that dialogue with the residents and the businesses of Waterloo. So we will put that email address in the notes there so people can have a dialogue with us and send us their thoughts and feedback as well.
All right, Andy, and I want to thank you so much for your tech story. Being around you, having conversations, I've learned so much myself as mayor. And, when you take a look overall at what we've just been through with the pandemic and the fact that we need to do more things with technology, whether that's billing, whether that is our adaptive technology that we utilize, whether it is trying to make Waterloo one of this vision of being a smart city. We know how much technology plays a role. And so for your efforts in helping us move forward in the telecom board and the support of our city council in moving forward, I want to thank you so much for all that you've done to help move our community forward. So, thank you so much, Andy, for your leadership.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for including me. It's been a pleasure to serve you and the city council on this important initiative.
All right. Thank you. And right now, we've talked about reform and how Waterloo is leading the way. We talked about technology and where we're moving at in the future and leading the way. I want to take this time out right now to introduce a very special person to our community. And she is none other than Sharina Salas. Sharina is a Waterloo native, veteran of the Navy, philanthropy advocate with CUNA Mutual, and a founding member of the economic inclusion of the Cedar Valley. And Sharina, 19 years ago, it seems like just yesterday, you decided to move back into Waterloo. Did you think at that time that you would be staying put here and that you would be so deeply invested in the community?
Wow, Mayor, it is a lifetime ago that I feel like I've moved here, but no, I really didn't think I would stay here. I actually thought I was going to kind of reacclimate myself for a little bit, and then I was going to move again. But, you put forth the challenge to me. And once I accepted that challenge, I just dug my heels in and I stayed.
And you know what? You have done more in the time frame that you've been here than a lot of us have done in our entire lifetimes. Your advocacy, your support, your involvement in the community is absolutely tremendous. But we're here talking about inclusion, right? Diversity and inclusion. We know this is Waterloo, and we hear those terms thrown out a lot of times. But when you hear the words diversity and inclusion, can you tell me what that really means?
Yeah, so when I think about inclusion, I'll start with that word first. That really speaks to anyone who's here, who lives here, or who comes here, can find or create their own pathway to success without barriers, and that they would have access to resources, to information, and to be able to create that success. But then when you think about diversity, diversity really is our people, right? Our citizens here. That's our strength. It's really just not a strength when people stereotype or people are misunderstood. So we are in the best position to think about diversity and inclusion because we're leading.
Absolutely. And Serena, we know that Waterloo is the most diverse city in the state per capita. But where do you see us leading in terms of diversity and inclusion, like you just mentioned?
I think if you remember, people were doing their own things and it was really siloed. Now it's kind of been like a more concerted effort. The groundwork has been laid probably for the last 5 to 6 years since you've came on as being mayor, and that and that we truly are leading. We're thinking about economic inclusion and how it's been up and going for 10 years and how it's evolved through Growth Cedar Valley. They also have an economic inclusion summit that's coming up October 8th and October 9th. But there's also like One Cedar Valley and taking a holistic look at individuals in this community and helping them on the individual level, but also helping them on the systemic and organizational level as well, removing barriers, creating access. If you also think about the group 24/7 Black, which I'm a part of, that's the Black Leadership Advancement Consortium. When you take a specific and intentional look at individuals in this community who have been underserved, underrepresented, marginalized, and how to give lift and light to those in those communities. Um, the Waterloo School has an equity plan. The neighborhood services under Felicia Smith Knowles, who's doing a lot of great things to help our neighborhoods stay connected and build their communities within this city. There's a number of minority businesses downtown. I think if you think about, there's just 5 that open on one block alone. I don't even remember that ever being anything that I can think about when I was a child growing up here. And then we also have Momentum, which just launched. And that's taken a look at individuals who have arrest records or convictions and helping them find a pathway to creating success for them also. So we're doing a lot. It may not feel like a lot, but we actually are. And it's been intentional and it's been great to see.
And intentionality, I guess we just created a word. Intentionality is the most important part of that. And you mentioned the economic inclusion summits, which and that progress, that's our business community taking a leadership role, understanding that there's a return on investment for making sure we have diverse and inclusive practices. And One Cedar Valley, which is going to move the needle in everyone's lives. And, that is a partnership between multi-groups from CUNA Mutual to the Community Foundation to the University of Northern Iowa and several different partners that I forgot to mention. The 24/7 Black Entrepreneurship Program, it was stated in 2018 that there was a disparity with African-American businesses and white businesses, but you've worked with this group. So it's not exclusive, but it's being inclusive and helping giving some of those foundational things that businesses need to thrive and businesses that need support in our school system, all of those things that you just mentioned are absolutely important to the long range part of our community. But we're also seeing a rise in young professional Black leadership too. And there was a time when Waterloo's boldest and brightest young people couldn't wait to get out of Waterloo. But now we're seeing people coming back. We're seeing new people come in to the community, and we are attracting Black and minority professionals in key leadership positions. So what are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, it's really been great. And you're right. It was not that long ago that people were trying to leave. But what's happening is that people are creating their own spaces, their own avenues. They're not waiting to be tapped and showcased that they are a leader. They are leading and demonstrating in their own gifts and talents. And it's just been amazing to see. And I love the fact that Waterloo is being intentional about helping young folks succeed.
And lastly and quickly, what's your vision and hopes for the future?
Goodness, if I had to think about it, I would hope in the next 5 years, the headline reads, people are flocking to Waterloo for adventures and new opportunities, and that they can find it here.
All right. Well, we thank you so much for your dedication, your support, your leadership, and we just appreciate you. So thank you so much for joining us today to talk about inclusion within our city. So thank you, Ms. Sharina.
Thank you, Mayor, for having me.
All right. And you know, that's a really important conversation right now, because as we transition from in being inclusive, Waterloo being a place to do business, we have to talk about Waterloo being a place to live. And there's no other person in the entire Cedar Valley, I say across the country, that's better to be able to talk about housing and its impact and living here than Amy Wienens, who is an entrepreneur, a business owner, a realtor, broker, developer in Waterloo. And I am proud to say one of the top realtors in the entire United States. So Amy, thank you so much for being here today.
Mayor Hart, thank you so much. This is such an honor, and I've totally enjoyed listening to this morning. It kind of excites you about our city.
Absolutely. And I know your story. You know, we just talked about Sharina and coming back here years ago. And in your story, while you were in Waterloo, you were planning on going back to Chicago, developing relationships, seeing impact, but you fell in love with the community. Can you talk about why Waterloo?
I fell in love with this great people. So I did. You're right. I wanted to leave. Really good to me. And Waterloo has got some exciting things going on. There's a lot of change going on, but it's like there's great energy in Waterloo.
And you know, when you talk about that change, what are some things that are the people you talk to that makes Waterloo so appealing right now?
Well, I think that I feel like we've got energy in our downtown areas. When we pick up people, we're doing a lot of tours, bringing people in. It used to be hard to sell Waterloo. It's very easy to sell Waterloo anymore. You drive through our beautiful downtown areas. We've got great restaurants going on. It's got a kind of a hip feel to it. There's energy and momentum to it. We've got amazing bike trails, and it just feels more excited and energized. I mean, we've got a lot of people wanting to live downtown. And you're seeing a lot of focus on taking neighborhoods and revitalizing it, and it just feels good.
And you know what's interesting? I heard someone say that the only thing in downtown Waterloo are bars. You know, when people try to limit our potential from downtown, then I guess you miss the fact that there's an amphitheater. You miss the fact that there's a sportsplex, young arena. You miss the fact that there are restaurants, that there are shops happening, that there's just a synergy, a convention center, so many incredible things that are happening downtown and in other places. So, you know, can you tell us, is this an easy place to do business in? Can you hear me?
Do you know what? Here's the thing. Yeah, I wasn't hearing you. Now I can hear you. Work with. I mean, they're easy to work with commercially. They're easy to work with redevelopment. They'll partner with private and public sector to do projects that make sense. But they're very, very planning and zoning. Everyone, it feels like they're ready to jump in, do great projects, do infill lots, and any project that makes sense. It feels like Waterloo is definitely like, let's go, let's do it.
Absolutely. And, just to mention, you mentioned the partnerships from Habitat to Hawkeye, the JSA, public and private dollars, Walnut Restoration Project. But tell me, what else excites you about it? What are you hearing as well from families?
Mayor Hart, here are two things, okay? The fact that we don't have urban sprawl, you guys are keeping things, every neighborhood is being improved, right? You don't have urban sprawl. We have literally, you go in, if an area is looking bad, you're going in and redeveloping it. But here's the biggest draw to real estate: schools. And Waterloo Schools has done a phenomenal job. We've got a tremendous amount of diversity. We have a tremendous amount of opportunity in that. I mean, we have schools that have got 72 different languages in them, and they've done a phenomenal job. Just last year, I was at the Department of Education, and they were just starting to talk about career centers and STEM programs. And I'm like, we've had STEM like 10 years in our market. We hired our first STEM director. The Career Center is cutting edge. And so when we look at the schools, we can definitely say it affords opportunity between the baccalaureate program, the International Baccalaureate program, all the AP classes. But I think Waterloo is leading in so many charges. And when people hear the news of what's going on in our schools, they're much more drawn to our neighborhoods and wanting to purchase and buy and live in this great community.
And I'm not just agreeing with you on the schools because my wife is a vice principal at one of the schools. It's not just because of that. But I mean, the international baccalaureate degree, the fact that our graduation rates are higher than they've ever been in years is so important. And then, but Amy, last but not least, what do you see in the future? Well, I think we kind of froze, but I think from our earlier conversations, Amy, I think we both mentioned that it depends on our ability to make sure that we have young leadership, keep young leadership advancing, and just overall keep pushing the momentum forward. This is not a time to tap the brakes. And as we mentioned, the investment with the Waterloo Youth Council, youth employment programs, the Youth Art Team, which is celebrating their 10th year, so happy birthday. So, I want to thank you, Amy, for being a champion, being a cheerleader for the city. And it's not all the talk. You are making incredible investment in this place and for our young people. Are you back?
I'm back. I lost you for a while. I'm back. Sorry, I could not hear you. I'm like,
Well, I just asked, what do you see in the future?
You know what? Here's the thing I see in the future: a lot of advancement. And just listening to Andy and the energy of entrepreneurs in this area bringing technology to the place. If you looked at all the people that talked today, the care, the concern, and the heart to move the city forward, I see great things. So I say keep advancing, keep being creative and innovative. And I think we're going to be on the map.
Well, I want to thank you because your story and the stories from others are what makes Waterloo a great place and will give us the building blocks that we need for the future. So, Amy, I want to tell you, continue to be incredible, continue to doing great work, and we appreciate all your efforts.
I appreciate you so much, Mayor Hart.
All right. And right now, as we wrap up the state of the city, I first want to thank Wendy Bowman, our communications director, Chris Youngblood, our IT director. I want to thank Agnes and Ed in the studio and all the speakers today and the many others behind the scenes that made this event possible. But I also want to take a special opportunity to recognize our firefighters and our EMS services for their diligence and leadership through this pandemic. They have been a resource, a sounding board, and they've helped us to be able to navigate the unknowns of this pandemic as well as other departments. And also, I want to give a shout out to Community Development, Housing Authority, and our Human Rights Commission, and any of the other departments or city workers that I failed to mention. But as you can hear and see, we are in an incredible position to continue moving this community forward. Over the next year, we will move ahead with game-changing projects such as municipal broadband opportunities, multi-collaborative projects with Hawkeye, with Waterloo Community Development, with the University of Northern Iowa, and especially with the University of Iowa and their work with helping us transform areas of need for our communities. We will look at features along the Cedar River to enhance and enlighten the area. We'll create a collective community plan and a new vision for our future. We will aggressively and continue to build partnerships in economic development and push community restoration for projects throughout this entire city because we're one Waterloo. But this morning, I had an opportunity to sit at the amphitheater and just watch the waves and the current of the Cedar River. And my heart was touched. See, because the beauty and strength of our community rest in the hearts, minds, and ingenuity of its people, of our people. From the children and teachers in our schools to the frontline essential workers, to public safety employees and our hospital staff, childcare workers, to sewer and sanitation workers, to the entrepreneurs, the retirees, and many others. It's all of you that make the difference. And as we move forward into waters unknown and territories undiscovered, from pandemics to presidential elections, it's all of you that make the difference. Your strength and renewed spirit of community makes the difference. We are Waterloo. Greatness is in our reach, and strength is what we exemplify when we work together. Your belief for a better community, your support for building bridges, and your efforts will continue to help Waterloo lead. So thank you so much for joining us, and have an incredible rest of the day.